War in the Streets, the North Hollywood Shootout. Visit our new website at www.lapdtv.com. You're about to see the LAPD at its finest. War in the Streets, the North Hollywood Shootout. Nothing is staged. Everything you see here is real. Now you too can become part of the action. When the battle is over, continue watching for an exciting first-time offer from LAPD, Life on the Beat.
At 9:17 a.m. on February 28th, North Hollywood patrol officers observed two heavily armed men entering a local bank. The officers put out a radio broadcast. Among the first to respond were Detectives Tracy Angeles and John Krulak, who took up a position behind the key shop across the street from the bank entrance. No one expected the gun battle that was about to erupt.
My partner and I, we were just responding to a non-emergency call and just happened to be driving down Laurel Canyon, and I was just looking around and I saw the bank. And I saw two guys who were wearing, bulky clothing, ski masks, and they had their rifles down at their sides.
5840, taking question assistance. We have a possible 211 in progress at the Bank of America, Laurel Canyon, north of Kendrick.
The suspect started shooting.
We have shots fired.
My partner and I, Detective John Krulak, we were driving towards the station when the call came out, so we were there within probably, I'd say, at the most, a minute.
W73, we're code 6.
We got out, we came up here to the key shack. I took a position here, and at that point, my partner and I were joined by Officer Zaborovin and Officer Guy. So I'm thinking, we got these guys. These guys are ours. They're inside the bank. They're going to be surrounded in a matter of seconds by LAPD officers. We got the tiger by the tail.
W73, we got the front of the bank covered.
I turned back to Detective Krulak and Angeles and asked if they had their bulletproof vests on. They both said basically no.
And that's when I remember hearing witnesses had reported that there was possible AK-47s.
L40, be advised, I got two witnesses over here say there's possibly 2 or 3 suspects inside, possible AK-47s or wearing ski masks and dark clothing.
So we started saying, okay, if these are AK-47s, this key shack is not the place to be. And it was too late. They had exited the bank.
The first gunman, Phillips, came out of the northwest door and started shooting northbound. I then raised the shotgun, trained it on the left shoulder and back of Phillips, and fired one round at Phillips. It seemed to only upset him. He spun around. Detective Angeles was right behind me. I had grabbed her.
Somehow I ended up laying here.
I crawled up on top of her, and at this time, Detective Krulak was there as well, and I made a feeble attempt to use my body armor to kind of protect them. He spun around and started shooting in our direction. I was shot twice.
I remember saying to you that we should get up and run.
Because if we don't, we're going to die here. I can remember thinking engine block, engine block.
And we kind of took different escape routes going between the different cars, dodging the bullets, because everything around us was, glass was breaking and...
Radiator fluid all over, battery acid flying.
I ran behind the car here, which was directly beside the van where they all ran. And I crouched down behind the car, and I had the engine block in front of me as cover. And I crouched down, and I remember watching the 3 of them behind the white van.
I proned out on the ground in an attempt to see where the suspect was.
I crouched in behind you. I believe I said a couple more times.
John had his hand on James's shoulder, and he was motioning to me like this. And I thought he was telling me to run, so I was getting ready. I was up, and I was getting ready to run, and that's when Stewart got hit.
I need a louder unit, please. Help.
That round just literally shredded that leg, and it looked like it had separated it from his body. Am I going to run and save myself, or am I going to stay with somebody and try to help him? like he would help me. That man made me choose between my son and husband and fellow officers. And the other thing I thought of was, if I run and I get him shot again, could he survive another hit? So I made the decision to stay. I thought about my little boy. I kept apologizing to him, asking him to please understand, you know, why I was where I was and why I had made the decisions I made. And I just kept thinking that I only had the joy of holding my baby for 4 months, and then the anger set in, and I made a decision that, no, I'm going to see my baby again.
We're approaching on foot. We saw Guy Stewart. We made eye contact. Approximately right here in this area, this is where Guy Stewart was down. And Detective Tracy Angeles, she is approximately 2 cars just north.
I just remember seeing 2 officers run over here. One of them took a position here and yelled to me, "You're covered, I have you covered."
Officer Stewart, he had the presence of mind placing the tourniquet around his leg. He's saying, you know what, I'm not going to die, I'm not going to die, I will survive.
And then Officer Schmitz, the probationer, he left the parking lot to get a car, because the 3 cars that were there, 4 cars actually, all of them were shot up.
As I'm driving back into the scene, I hope the suspects aren't going to see the vehicle driving in, because it's like a big bullseye.
And once Schmitz pulled in, we started hearing heavy gunfire again.
I grabbed Officer Stewart and dragged him as much as I could to the rear of the car, to the rear seat.
And then Officer Schmitz, how he did it, drove out of this parking lot in reverse, probably easy, I'd say maybe 40 miles an hour. And that's when we drove up to the ambulance.
Now 120 advised units on the perimeter that with the officers rescued, fire department has set up command posts at fire station and is bringing in a helicopter to take them out.
At that point, Detective Krulak was shot in the lower leg ankle area.
I looked at my ankle and saw that there was blood coming out of my sock, and I realized, okay, we've got to make a run for it. And that's when the 2 of us jumped up and started running between the cars. We were still receiving ground fire at that time.
And they made the dash to come into my office.
Bullets were still flying all around us. This door on the left here was shattered, so James just ran right through the glass.
Hit up against the side of the wall. We then got to our feet and scurried up the stairs. We get here, and I begin yelling out, "Who's the doctor? Who's the doctor?"
Yeah, so when I opened the door here, I saw Zaborovan lying down here, face down, yelling really loud at the top of his voice, just, "Who's the doctor? Who's the doctor?" And I said, "I'm the doctor. I've been hit. I've been hit."
Still keying my rover, my radio, requesting help for Detective Angeles and my training officer, Stuart Guy.
As I'm trying to find where he shot, he has his bulletproof vest on, and there's glass on him, and there's blood on his hands, on his elbows, and I asked him, "Where you hit?" And he says, "He's down below." And that's where I just ripped open the uniform, and I found a 6-7 inch gash, which 2 inches wide and about 1.5 inches deep, and there was so much glass inside there, and I'm trying so hard just to take out the glass, and as I'm taking out the glass, he's moving, and the cut is opening and closing, and more glass is going inside, and so I'm trying to stop the bleeding, and finally I got it under control. So that's when I turned around. I came down here to the stairs, and Detective Krulak, he is actually lying here. His leg is stretched out, and he has his shotgun looking down just in case there's any of the gunmen coming this way, because we have no idea where they're located.
After about 25 minutes, several officers had come up through the back of the building and escorted us down the back way. James Zaborovan, he's a true hero in my eyes. I mean, he jumped right on top of Tracy with total disregard of his own safety.
And I owe him a debt of gratitude.
Officers and civilians lay wounded and bleeding here, here, and here, still in the line of fire. They had every reason to believe they would never make it out alive.
5840, speaking, requesting assistance. We have a possible 211 in progress at the Bank of America, Laurel Canyon, north of Kittredge.
The call came out of an officer needs help. This I knew was good because it was information given from an officer.
I pulled my car across the 2 lanes of southbound Laurel Canyon here to stop traffic.
Once I got to the location, I met a sergeant there that was Dean Haynes.
I look over and there's a person by some parked cars here motioning that he needs to talk to me. And he ran up to my car and told me that he had seen the suspects enter the bank. They were dressed in black military-type fatigues and that they definitely had AK-47 rifles. And then Tracy Fisher runs up to my car and says, "Hi, I'm the one who called 911.
And I told him what I heard, and we were all just casually talking.
And at that point, the automatic weapon fire came from the alcove there at the bank, and the car just began disintegrating in front of us.
Behind my car from bumper to bumper. My car was pointing at the direction the gunfire was coming from. So I had somewhat of a sense of security until I was shot twice.
I was shot in the foot.
I'd been hit in the shoulder.
The first time I was shot in the left buttock and the left arm.
I could see the civilian who was taking cover behind my car had been hit a few times.
The guy I was with was shot in the arm, and he was screaming in pain how much it hurt, how much he wanted to leave.
Sergeant Dean Haynes ran to the rear of my car, and we both showed each other our gun wounds and took off running for our lives.
Was able to reach this beautiful tree right here.
And I could see Sergeant Haynes behind the tree. I saw Officer Whitfield 2 trees up from him.
And just as I made it to the tree, I was shot again.
I saw Officer Whitfield get shot. I saw him go down.
I didn't know that I was shot as bad as I was until I looked down and I saw my leg was literally twisted around. I saw my foot at a funny angle, looking, and facing the direction that I'm not standing.
989, stand by.
I remember putting my hand over the bullet hole exit to stop the blood from coming out. My radio was like a lifeline to me.
I'm losing conscious also. I'm on Laurel Canyon.
We have an officer down Victory west of Laurel Canyon. He needs help. Code 3. He is passing out.
When I was talking to 9L89, nobody could get to him. I could still hear the gunfire in the background, and there was nobody that could get to him.
He was laying about 6 to 8 feet just to the right of that third tree, about where that gate is going in that property there, and 60 feet away, and I couldn't do anything to help him.
9L89, 9L89, come in. 9L89, 9L89, come in.
I have a newborn, and I have 2 other sons. And I had a radio at home for Kim to listen to. She was in RTO training for dispatcher.
I was sitting on the floor when I heard Martin say he was shot. And when he said that, my whole world fell apart.
I prayed to God. I prayed out loud. And I kept my eye on Officer Richard Zielinski because he had a chance to run for safety. And he didn't.
9L89, 9837 is almost there. Hang in there.
The suspect was standing just to the right of the A. I'd like to think, due to my actions, I kept him here for 15 or 20 minutes because he and I were actively engaged for what seemed like a very long time.
He drew fire to himself, basically. He stood his ground. It kept the gunfire from coming my way.
9L89, hang in there.
When Lupe was telling Martin to hang on, I was thinking, he's talking. He's talking, so he's still there. He's still with us.
L89, thank you. Thank you for talking.
Kept talking to him, and even if it was just to hear his unit designation and to keep him talking so he wouldn't pass out.
And then all of a sudden, the ground started spitting up dirt again, right in front of me. I remember thinking, why is this guy shooting at me again?
I kept trying to raise him over the air and he wasn't talking, and I thought he had passed out or that he possibly died.
9L89, 9L89, come in. 9L89.
At that point, I didn't think that I would make it out alive.
We were on the south side of the bank. There was gunshots going. We heard all the commotion about officers down. We turned and looked southbound at Victory and Laurel Canyon and seen the armored car stuck in traffic.
A traffic officer approaches the truck and he says to us, hey, we've got guys down. Will this thing stop AK firepower? And I'm like, oh, sure, yeah, it'll stop anything. No problem.
The door opened, he said, hey, let's go get the officers, and we all just jumped in the truck and started going northbound.
Stop for being fired still. The officer is down at Archwood and Laurel Canyon.
As we came down, there was a lot of ruckus in the armored car. Everybody had their own plan.
And I saw the SWAT units pull up. So he ran over to our location.
And we let him take control of the situation since he has a lot more training than we do.
Everybody's efforts were there to start with. They just needed someone who could really direct all those individual efforts together and go forward as one.
So he pretty much took over and told the driver to continue on northbound.
The thing that did make me a little apprehensive is that as we approached the scene, I saw the kind of damage that was done.
As we passed the bank, we see where Officer Whitfield was behind a tree.
And Martin was laying about 6 feet to the right of that third tree. I ran up to him and he was positioned probably about here, just past these roots in this area here.
And he patted me on the chest. And I remember looking at him and just reaching up and just hugging him.
And then the armored car came around a couple minutes later.
This is where we made the U-turn. And Officer Whitfield was down behind the second tree here. I was the first one out. Whitfield was down here. Some traffic officer was holding him. And I got to him. He was laying in a pool of blood. The suspects were somewhere down the street over there.
Since I had my SWAT weapons with me, I would do the covering in case the suspects did come forward towards us or appeared in front of us.
Officers, it seemed like they trained for this very thing. So they were speaking 100% safety and tactics.
We picked him up. We cleared the intersection, make sure the suspect wasn't there, and we just ran to the truck.
Officer Keith Seppenwell, he kept me focused. He kept talking to me.
I laid him on top of me and elevated his leg, and he helped me hold his leg.
And I made a pillow out of the money bags.
I could see the suspects, what I believe was the suspect, and the suspect's vehicle off to the right.
So everybody jumped back in the truck, including the SWAT officer who was providing cover at the time of the rescue, and we continued on southbound to rescue the other civilians.
Through all the gunfire, an armored car pulled up right there in front of us.
Once we got out, the SWAT officer advised me that he had downrange firepower.
And they said non-injured first. And that meant the gentleman that was holding me. But instead, he pushed me in first. And then he got in, and then the other gentleman that was shot, they helped stand him up, and he walked into the armored car. The atmosphere in the armored car was intense.
There was a lot of blood, there was a lot of chaos.
Everybody was screaming and hollering.
Blood coming out from all over the place.
The officer that was shot was in a severe amount of pain.
The money was full of blood.
People were piled up all over each other.
The guy I was with was in a lot of pain.
Blood was everywhere.
I was in pain.
And I'm thinking, this is like Vietnam.
In a situation like this, there's so much speed, you're kind of yelling at them to do what you want them to do. There's no time to think about people's feelings.
Let's get the hell out of here.
And I wanted to get back, get these people the medical attention, get them completely out of the line of fire.
And then they drove south down to Victory behind Sears.
You could see it in their faces, the relief that somebody was going to be able to move them out of this thing and maybe move them to safety. And that's a gratifying feeling.
And once we got out of the zone of fire, we unloaded the victims.
And when they opened the door and they took us out, there was probably 300 people there.
The paramedics came and took the victims down and gave them MT and transported them to the hospital.
The whole thing was a teamwork. Without the driver, we couldn't get to Whitfield. Without me, we couldn't grab him.
Due to the efforts of these people inside the armored car, believe me, that's why this whole thing was successful.
Moving Officer Whitfield was difficult because he was obviously in a lot of pain. He was losing consciousness, and just to see another officer down like that is a terrible thing. And you know, it's hard to hold back the tears, but yet at the same time, you know, you got to do your job.
This whole process has changed the way I think and perceive things. I have this saying now that anything can happen and nothing's impossible.
This rescue was truly miraculous. The armored car suffered no direct hits and carried all passengers to safety.
Remember, after the last chase, continue watching for an exciting first-time offer from the LAPD, Life on the Beat store.
By 9:35 a.m., the bank robbers had abandoned their cash and were desperately trying to shoot their way out of the police gauntlet. On the scene was Sergeant Dean Haynes, and coming from the opposite direction, past the semi, Officer Conrad Torres. For Torres, this would become a fight to the death.
Possible 211 in progress at the Bank of America.
We drove up Agnes. We pulled into this intersection. The bank sits right in front of us on the side. Sergeant's car, Haynes is up here.
I came down Laurel Canyon and I pulled my car across the 2 lanes of southbound Laurel Canyon here to stop traffic.
As I ran forward. The semi's here, has a long trailer attached to it. There's a black and white parked right here, facing the front of the bank.
And then I hear a gentleman yelling, "Officer, officer." This individual ran up to my car and told me that he had seen the suspects going into the bank.
L40, be advised, I got 2 witnesses over here say there's possibly 2 or 3 suspects inside.
They were dressed in black military-type fatigues.
They're wearing ski masks and dark clothing.
And that they definitely had AK-47 rifles.
Possible AK-47.
And then a woman came up and said that she had called 911.
I don't think anybody knew what was about to happen.
I'm hearing numerous gunshots inside the bank.
4 shots are being fired from inside the bank.
I'm thinking somebody's dead, they're killing inside. I'm thinking hostage.
And then the gunfire stopped.
The suspects came walking out of the alcove there near the Bank of America sign.
Be advised, I think somebody just came out of the front door of the Bank of America.
They just looked like they were huge. They looked enormous. And they walked up the sidewalk. Seemed like they were walking in slow motion. Then he braced himself and pointed his weapon in the direction of my car. The car just began disintegrating in front of us. The sound was deafening.
Radiator fluid in my mouth.
The vehicles are shaking, the windows are blasting out.
Shrapnel flying around.
Glass in my hair.
Any officer wasn't scared there is lying to himself.
A distinct sound of death.
And they started laying fire, panning from the right, 180 degrees to the left. Officers are being hit.
I knew I was shot in the foot.
I'd been hit in the shoulder.
I've been hit.
The other gentleman was shot. He was screaming in pain.
My concern then was that the suspect was going to come up to my vehicle because he knew I was there and try to execute us. I broke for cover and was able to reach this beautiful tree right here. Just as I got to the tree, he opened up again.
Engage Phillips as he's continuing to shoot officers that are already down. As I engage Phillips, he turns around, spins around, and engages me. My car, police car, starts to shake. The glass blows out. I take 1 step back, and I fall to the ground. Later on, I'll find out I'm actually been hit in the neck.
Suspects are on the north side of the building. They're just walking around like nothing.
And I turn around, and I start running. Remember, the semi's parked? It's right here. I go underneath the semi. As I'm under here, I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, please don't let me get killed. Not right here, don't let my family see me.
Suspect is walking along the east side of the bank. He's just daring people to come after him.
I hear on the radio that they're coming toward me. Should I stay? Should I run?
This guy is not going down. He's got heavy body armor.
I run. I waddle along as fast as I can, keeping down, and I head for the wall. This tree looked pretty big to me at the time, and I hide against the wall. My gun's out. And I'm thinking, oh my God, they're coming this way.
The suspect is in the vehicle and has not come out. He may be hit. The other suspect is walking on the inside of the vehicle. He's taking aim now. Everybody down.
I get this feeling that somebody's there, and I turn, and there's Mazzarano. He's parked right in front of the semi. As he comes out, I engage him. I come out and I engage Mazzarano. As I engage him, he drives away.
Does anyone have a clear shot of the suspect?
And I look, and I see Phillips.
Got one suspect on foot. The suspect on foot is behind a long trailer.
I come up and I engage him underneath the truck. As I engage him underneath the truck, he throws a weapon down, and he runs out of the truck. As he's running out of the truck, he pulls out his sidearm, and as soon as he comes out, I engage him. I engage him nonstop. I continue to engage him. He goes down. Looks like he stoops over. He's being hit. He continues, goes down. He gets back up, and I continue to engage him until he drops. And I do an ammo check. I got one bullet left in my magazine and one bullet in the handgun. And I'm thinking, God, don't let this guy get up. I come across the street to him. As you see, it's just across the street is where he was. I was angry, I was upset, I was scared, and I was glad this was over for me. And as I'm doing that, I look up, I look down, and there goes my surround, and all I can say is, you know, good luck to the officers going to engage him.
An attempted robbery of the Bank of America was foiled by an immediate response from North Hollywood patrol officers. By 10 a.m., these officers, though wounded and outgunned, had brought down one armed robber. Now the second robber was fleeing into a residential neighborhood. It was only a matter of moments before someone would surely be killed when SWAT team members arrived.
We have a possible 211 in progress at the Bank of America.
At the time the call came out, I would estimate that we got here probably within about 3 to 4 minutes from the station. Now hear that my officers are being hit with automatic gunfire and I have officers down.
I need an RE unit.
The next thought that goes through my mind, and probably the most fearful thought I think any supervisor has, is I have an officer hit and somebody's going to die today.
I'd been hit in the shoulder.
I was shot twice.
I've been hit in the neck.
This was an extremely urgent situation, and that if SWAT wasn't transported here very, very quickly, myself and my officers would be in great, great trouble.
Requesting SWAT, code 3.
Radio call came out that all SWAT officers respond to North Hollywood. There was a 211 in progress, numerous shots fired, numerous officers down.
When I first got the word from Donnie what was going on in North Hollywood, my first thought was to get to my car and line up so we can get out there as fast as possible because there was cops that needed help. So in my mind I thought, you know, I don't have time to put my utilities on. I need to get my weapon, vest, my helmet, and we need to get out there and get those cops and those citizens out of danger.
At that point, myself, Ricky, and Gomes got in my vehicle to effect a downed officer rescue.
From a supervisory perspective, as we were deploying there was a lot of confidence that I had because I knew I had folks that had been tested on numerous occasions.
At this point, the ball game is with SWAT and the suspects. If the suspects move, make sure the air unit monitors following until SWAT can take them down.
I was coming over Van Owen, going to work that mid-morning. Neil drove down the street from that direction. He was coming up to this place here. I first realized that he was a danger when I couldn't get by him and I was looking at him. Then he brought the gun up on his dashboard. He had fired. It was just like an explosion. I was hit across my head here, down in my cheek, and when I turned the truck off, I didn't take the keys with me. I just hit the key, hit my pump, jumped and ran.
The suspect took a citizen vehicle in a brown truck westbound on Archwood. Westbound Archwood in a brown truck.
The keys were left in the ignition, and the pump was off, and that's the way it sat when he got in. And he was just kind of sitting there for a few seconds. I think maybe he had never been in this kind of a vehicle.
Okay, we're coming down the street now. We still don't know exactly what we have here.
We're traveling at a rather high rate of speed.
Once I got close enough to where I realized that this was a suspect, I leaned out the passenger front window and laid down cover fire.
And the cover fire drove the suspect to the back of the white vehicle, giving us the opportunity to exit the vehicle.
I could see the suspect firing in my direction through his windshield. I returned fire through his windshield. I could see his upper body. At that point, he went down a little bit below the hood of his vehicle. I had the malfunction and I lost sight of him at that point.
I come over the back and I cover Donnie. The entire time, suspect is firing in our direction.
Number one thought in my head then was to get out of that car because he was shooting back at us So I laid on my back and used my feet and my shoulders and my elbows and tried to get myself across that seat. I thought that I was going to get hit. The door is not going to stop anything. Once I made it out, it was somewhat of a sigh of relief. I made it out there. Now I can get back to what I got to do here.
When he paused, he could very easily move around to either side, to the rear of the black and white, or come around to the front and open up on us.
I kept hearing his automatic fire. It was constant, and I remember thinking to myself, eventually, he's got to run out of bullets here and we can do something.
AK-47s were all drum magazines, drum-fed, and especially the weapon that he was using on us was an M16 with a double drum magazine, both holding 50 rounds.
At this point, Steve Gomez states that the suspect is down.
And at that point, that's when I started tactically moving around the car. Donnie moved with me, and as I moved up on him, right here, I'm yelling at him and pointing at him to get his hands up to where I can see him.
I'm kicking the assault rifle away from his hands at this point, and I just pointed back to the vehicle to have Ricky. The door was closed. I couldn't see what was inside. I was having Ricky check the interior of the vehicle for additional suspects.
Inside the cab, there were two other weapons, AK-47 and another assault rifle. The moment that stands out in my mind the most is the number of officers that were injured, officers down, the number of citizens that were injured, the number of rounds the suspects had fired, and the type of firepower they were using. It's totally different than your normal bank robbery suspects.
I think sometimes we focus on individual acts of courage, which should not, which needs to be recognized, but there was an absolute team effort that was throughout the organization.
I've gotten a few comments, people telling me that, you know, like calling us heroes, and I don't look at it that way, not at all. 3 cops that are well trained with a lot of experience that did their job that day.
Incredibly, during the furious gunfight, not a single bullet hit the SWAT officer's car.
What took 45 minutes of action took 9 months of intensive investigation to resolve. Once the TV cameras were turned off, Robbery Homicide Division took over.
RHD is the beat of detectives Ron Ito and Brian McCartan, and this is one case they'll never forget.
I was here in the office doing some paperwork. It was relatively early in the morning. I was notified that there was an officer-involved shooting. My team, Homicide Special Section, was up, had the on-call at that time.
We started to respond to the scene before the shooting was over.
We've been working on a major case management system.
I knew that implementing the new crime scene management system was going to be challenging.
The entire crime scene was broken into 6 individual scenes.
I was assigned to the front of the bank where the ATMs were located. And when I arrived at the scene, I observed numerous shell casings scattered all throughout the sidewalk, into the entrance of the bank, back out the sidewalk leading in a northerly direction. I would estimate anywhere from 200 plus shell casings. Doors were shot out. ATMs were blown apart by gunfire. I saw several cylinder drums that were emptied. They shot the protective glass several times, but the glass would not shatter. So what they did, they shot out the door handles. That's the way they got into the vault area, into the ATM area.
The crime scene that I was connected to was the parking lot on the north side of the bank, which would have been just south of Archwood. The parking lot itself is rather large and was divided into grids, each grid measuring approximately 1 foot square. And within these grids, you'd notice that there were many, many shell casings. And the job of the criminalist was to recover and document the types of casings and their specific location.
My area of investigative responsibility would have covered the north end of the crime scene. The furthest bullet impact strike that I found was over 1/3 of a mile north of the bank. That projectile impacted into the 3rd floor of the apartment building, actually penetrated the building into a residence.
Detective Ball and I were assigned the intersection of Archwood
and Agnes. Immediately, what caught your eye was a large semi-truck that was parked right here at the curb. Next thing that catches your eye is Phillips' body lying here on the grassy dirt parkway. He was fully clothed in body armor. I saw the 9mm handgun laying next to his body. I saw gloves, sunglasses, an empty magazine cartridge.
Most interesting part about this case was fingerprinting these guys. As we were pulling the hands free, he was literally dressed like a ninja in all black. I noticed some injuries on him, obviously bullet wound injuries, entrance that it appears that he got shot in his right hand, which traveled and continued into his right forearm. May have something to do with his inability to control his firearm no longer at that time. In examining the vest, I've noticed the impacts to his tactical vest and his clothing. Obviously, our officers' rounds were impacting him. This is the location where Montesorino's vehicle came to a stop. This was his termination point. It was at this location that he had ordered the victim out of the truck. He fired at the driver of the truck, and the driver of the truck fled from here to this area over here by this house. At that point, Montesorino started to take some of the things he thought he needs, like the rifles, the AK-47. And one interesting point is he placed a garage door opener controller, a remote controller, into the truck, which we found later that it opened his garage door. Even in this firefight here, he had the presence of mind to take this garage door opener so that he could make his getaway and possibly to hide this truck that he was going to steal from here. We also took fingerprints here to make sure we could identify this person positively, which we did later as Emilio Montesorino.
Scenes generally don't say anything by themselves. We usually need witness accounts to corroborate and help.
Our best witnesses at this crime scene were our police officers that were there.
The investigation didn't get started until late in the afternoon, but we were there all night and into the next morning. Initially, we had some feelings that it might take a couple of days, but when we looked at it and then broke it down into these workable parts and put enough people into the investigation itself, we were able to complete the scene investigation by about 7 o'clock the following morning.
February 28th at 9:17 in the morning. It's indelibly imprinted in my mind. Myself, Detective Woods, Cummings, and Jackson were all here in the office along with everybody else. So we all rolled out. We took coverage with everybody else, and then we just stood by until the situation and the entire neighborhood had been completely contained, and then the investigation began. Right after that, one of the first things we want to do is identify the suspects. And Detective Ron Ito, after getting the fingerprints and we got the suspects identified, that's when our unit stepped in, the bank squad. We had known about these two suspects previously, not by name, but by their MO. Prior to that, this robbery in February and the year before, we had an armored car robbery where they tried to take down the armored car as it was moving. The robbery that went down at Woodman and Sherman Way at the B of A, where that was their first, walking into the bank, fully suited up, shooting out the door locks, going in and getting the money and walking out. May 31st of 96, they go and do the Roscoe and Winnetka B of A, where they'd shot and killed a guard sometime earlier, and did a repeat robbery of the very first one. And then they fell out of sight, and we figured, well, I mean, this is a very unique and unusual MO. The amount of firepower, the way they were disguised and protected from, you could tell that they wore ballistic armor underneath their clothing. They were really bulky, their tactics and everything. And We hear the radio call come out, officer needs help. We have suspects in the bank with automatic weapons, and we immediately go, man, that's our AK-47 guys. After the suspects were fingerprinted, their fingerprints were ran in a computerized system, and it kicked out their two names. Larry Phillips was 26 years old, and Emil was 29. Emil lived in Altadena, had an address in Altadena and Pasadena, also owned a business there. And we found that Larry Phillips was an unknown quantity. All this information for the robbery was being broadcast over the news media, and we started getting calls from people. So with that, armed with that information, we went to the location on Granada Hills, and we went inside, and that was the house that they had staged their robbery from. That morning, they had gone to that location. They had taken off their watches, their rings, and their wallets, and they each had a room. They set it all on the dresser. So we found all the bags where all their weapons were. We found pieces of vests inside. We recovered a safe. The safe was in a bedroom closet, and we recovered that, and upon opening it, there was about $300,000 in U.S. currency in there. We can account for about $400,000, maybe a little bit more than that, and we're outstanding right now is about $1 million. $900,000 to $1 million is still outstanding. Larry himself now became not an unknown quantity. We found out that he was raised on the run. His family, his father was a wanted felon, that he was wanted by the FBI. That Larry went to high school in Colorado. He thought himself better than the rest. He was going to make it. He wanted the good life. I'm going to live large. But he came to LA with the aspiring hopes of being a professional bodybuilder. He used to go down to Gold's Gym in Santa Monica. Turns out that's where he met Emil. Emil was some kind of a power lifter himself. Nobody at this point, either the wives or anybody that we've talked to, can tell us what point in time these two determined that bank robberies was going to be their way of life. But they weren't stupid. I mean, they were very intelligent. Emil had a 1988. He graduated from DeVry with a computer engineering degree. They read books. They got a lot of manuals from the military on how to build booby traps and to build bombs. They got books on sniping and weaponry and hand-to-hand combat. So these guys had taken some time and some forethought and planned all this stuff. This was the most violent thing I've ever encountered. 25 years on this job. And once we sunk our teeth into it and we started to get some leads, boy, that was the end of that. We just hammered it. We just stuck to it and just followed it to the very, very end.
Assistance. We have a possible 211 in progress at the Bank of America, Laurel Canyon, north of Kittredge.
My partner and I, Detective John Krulak, we were there the most a minute.
W73, we're code 6.
I came down Laurel Canyon and I pulled my car across the two lanes.
I took a position here, and at that point, my partner and I were joined by Officer Zaborovin and Officer Guy.
Once I got to the location, I met a sergeant there that was Dean Haynes. I exited my patrol vehicle.
We pulled into this intersection. The bank sits right in front of us.
So I'm thinking, we got these guys. These guys are ours. They're inside the bank. They're going to be surrounded in a matter of seconds by LAPD officers. We got the tiger by the tail.
A person by some parked cars here ran up to my car and told me that he had seen the suspects enter the bank. They were dressed in black military-type fatigues, and that they definitely had AK-47 rifles.
I saw two gentlemen talking with an officer whose car was parked in the middle of the intersection. I introduced myself. I said I called 911.
The suspects came walking out of the alcove there near the Bank of America sign. Then he braced himself and pointed his weapon in the direction of my car. The car just began disintegrating in front of us.
I was shot twice.
I was shot in the foot.
I'd been hit in the shoulder.
The guy I was with was shot in the arm.
I was shot twice.
I've been hit in the neck.
And that's when Stuart got hit.
I need an RA unit, please help.
Took off running for our lives, and just as I made it to the tree, I was shot again. I looked down and I saw my leg was literally twisted around, facing a direction that I'm not standing.
LA-89, ETF help.
989, 9837 is almost there. Hang in there.
The suspect was standing just to the right of the A, as he and I were actively engaged for what seemed like a very long time.
He drew fire to himself, basically. He stood his ground. It kept the gunfire from coming my way.
I grabbed Officer Stewart and dragged him to the rear of the car, to the rear seat.
And then Officer Schmitz, how he did it, drove out of this parking lot in reverse, probably easy, I'd say maybe 40 miles an hour.
A traffic officer approaches the truck and he says to us, hey, we've got guys down. Will this thing stop AK firepower? And I'm like, oh, sure, yeah, it'll stop anything. No problem.
The door opened, he said, hey, let's go get the officers, and we all just jumped in the truck and started going northbound.
And I saw the SWAT units pull up, so he ran over to our location.
And we let him take control of the situation since he has a lot more training than we do.
Everybody's efforts were there to start with. They just needed someone who could really direct all those individual efforts together and go forward as one.
And all of a sudden, the ground started spitting up dirt again, right in front of me. I remember thinking, why is this guy shooting at me again?
I kept trying to raise him over the air and he wasn't talking. And I thought he had passed out or that he possibly died. 989, 989, come in. 989, 989, come in.
At that point, I didn't think that I would make it out alive.
We passed the bank, we see where Officer Whitfield was behind a tree.
This is where we made the U-turn. And Officer Whitfield was down behind the second tree here. I was the first one out. Whitfield was down here. He was laying in a pool of blood. The suspects were somewhere down the street over there.
Since I had my SWAT weapons with me, I would do the covering in case the suspects did come forward towards us.
We picked them up and we just ran to the truck. And we continued on southbound to rescue the other civilians.
Through all the gunfire, an armored car pulled up right there in front of us. The gentleman that was holding me pushed me in first. And then he got in, and then the other gentleman that was shot, they helped stand him up, and he walked into the armored car.
The suspect is in the vehicle and has not come out. He may be hit. The other suspect is walking on the east side of the vehicle. He's taking aim now. Everybody down.
I get this feeling that somebody's there, and I turn, and I look. I come up and I engage him. I engage him nonstop. I continue to engage him. He goes down. Looks like he stoops over. He's being hit. He continues, goes down. He gets back up, and I continue to engage him until he drops. And I was glad this was over for me. And as I'm doing that, I look up, I look down, and there goes Monterano, and all I can say is, you know, good luck to the officers who's going to engage him.
Once I got close enough to where I realized that this was a suspect, I leaned out the passenger front window and laid down cover fire.
And the cover fire drove the suspect to the back of the white vehicle here, giving us the opportunity to exit the vehicle.
I could see the suspect firing in my direction through his windshield. I returned fire through his windshield. I could see his upper body.
Number one thought in my head then was to get out of that car because he was shooting back at us. So I laid on my back and used my feet and my shoulders and my elbows and tried to get myself across that seat. I kept hearing his automatic fire. It was constant, and I remember thinking to myself, eventually, he's got to run out of bullets here and we can do something.
At this point, the suspect is down.
And as I moved up on him, right here, I'm yelling at him and pointing at him to get his hands up to where I can see him.
I'm kicking the assault rifle away from his hands at this point, and I just pointed back to the vehicle to have Ricky. The door was closed. I couldn't see what was inside. I was having Ricky check the interior of the vehicle for additional suspects.
The moment that stands out in my mind the most is the number of officers that were injured, officers down, the number of citizens that were injured, the number of rounds the suspects had fired, and the type of firepower they were using. It's totally different than your normal bank robbery suspects.
When I stand beside fellow officers, it's with respect, pride, and admiration, and it will be that way until the day I retire, and even after that. You know, this police department is #1 because of its police officers, and we showed that day.
War in the streets, the North Hollywood Shootout. Visit our new website at www.lapdtv.com. LAPD gear now available from our Life on the Beat store. Remember to call the toll-free number at the bottom of your screen. Patrol the streets in your 100% heavyweight cotton LAPD Life on the Beat t-shirt, boldly emblazoned with the LAPD logo on the left chest, medium, large, extra large, and extra, extra large. Also available from the LAPD store, our authentic Life on the Beat badge logo t-shirt, medium, large, and extra, extra large. Stay in shape for those unexpected pursuits. Premium 9 3/4 ounce cotton crew neck sweatshirt, adorned with your choice of embroidered or printed LAPD logo, medium, large, and extra, extra large. And also available are matching sweatpants. These sweats proudly sport the LAPD logo printed down the left leg, medium, large, and extra, extra large. Available only in ash. Our LAPD Life on the Beat Diver Style Sports Watch comes in black with the logo on the face. And our unique Zippo cigarette lighter features our trademark badge logo. It's available in black or silver. Also, this LAPD Maglite keychain flashlight is small enough to fit comfortably in your pocket. AAA batteries are included. Perfect for those long, cold nights. Our Letterman jacket has a wool-quilted body with quality leather sleeves and trim, with the LAPD TV badge logo strikingly embroidered on the left chest. Available in black, in medium, large, and extra large. Celebrate the comfort of our 100% cotton polo, uniquely embroidered with the official LAPD TV badge or logo. Available in black or white, in medium, large, and extra, extra large. Our wool blend baseball hat is adjustable with the embroidered LAPD logo in front. Also, the official LAPD Life on the Beat mug, available in cobalt blue with the LAPD TV metallic badge logo. Our ever-popular long-sleeve Henley with badge or the LAPD logo elegantly embroidered over the heart. It's 100% heavyweight cotton, hem sleeves with a generous cut. Available in large, and extra, extra large. Pack up your exercise gear in our large 24x12x11 heavy-duty gym bag with durable handles, adjustable shoulder strap, and center lid double zipper. Available in navy with the LAPD Life on the Beat logo embroidered on the front pocket. Our tank top is 100% heavyweight cotton with silkscreen badge or LAPD logo. It's available in black or white, medium, large, and extra, extra large. Classic denim shirts are a favorite of off-duty cops, beautifully embroidered with the LAPD logo over the left chest pocket of this 100% premium cotton shirt. Available in medium, large, and extra, extra large. Make an unforgettable statement on those cool nights in your 100% cotton full-cut long-sleeve t-shirt. Black with the LAPD logo printed on the left chest and Life on the Beat down the left sleeve. Available in medium, large, and extra large. As seen earlier, don't forget our Letterman jacket. Perfect for those long, cold nights. Available in medium, large, and extra large. Also available from the LAPD store, LAPD's hottest police chases now available on video cassette. Call toll-free 1-877-4-LAPD-TV.